Hello. Today I want to talk about the ideas of the Marquis de Condorcet regarding the rights of women. For ease of recording, I have split the video into two parts. This is part one. For more details on this topic, let me refer you to two articles, one by Joan Lands and the other by Jeffrey Nall, details of which I will give in the notes below the video. Condorcet is rightly seen as one of the most powerful voices calling for political and social reform in late 18th century Europe. This call included his writings on women's rights, which were particularly revolutionary for the age in which he lived and would still be opposed by some conservative thinkers. Condorcet was not alone in calling for women to be given more rights. Most importantly, his wife, Sophie de Grouchy, shared his views and was both a recognized intellectual in her own right and, for Condorcet, evidently, a respected co-worker as well as his spouse. There were also other figures in Condorcet's circle who were feminists, most famously Olympe de Gouges, a playwright and writer who in 1791 issued her Declaration of the Rights of Woman and the Female Citizen, and who was executed in 1793. And in Britain there was Condorcet's younger contemporary, Mary Wollstonecraft, who published her A Vindication of the Rights of Women in 1792. I will discuss these women in other videos. Condorcet's defense of the rights of women also followed the much earlier work by Poulain de la Barre, who in the early 1670s argued that whilst women are physically different from men, like men, they have minds, and therefore on Cartesian grounds are equal. Condorcet was a known advocate of greater rights for women before the turmoil of the French Revolution, as in a 1787 essay on constitutionalism, and he continued to speak and write on the topic after he became one of the leading voices in the initial period of the Revolution, most prominently in a 1790 essay on the admission of women to the rights of citizenship. He also referred to the question in a 1791 note on public instruction and in his famous sketch for a historical picture of the progress of the human spirit, the Esquisse, written whilst he was in hiding in 1793-94 and published after his death. For Condorcet, women were equal to men on grounds of reason and justice. By reason, the rights of human beings stem exclusively from the fact that we are thinking beings, capable of acquiring moral ideas and reasoning upon them. Women have these qualities, the same as men. It was true that there were obvious biological differences between the two sexes, but for Condorcet this should be no impediment to their having equal rights. Certainly it might well be that women would make poorer soldiers compared to men because of their physique and physical strength. Again, when a woman was pregnant, giving birth, or breastfeeding, then these were specific times when she was not able to do hard physical work. But none of these factors were adequate cause for depriving women of rights which they should share with men. There was no evidence for women being naturally less intelligent than men, and for that matter, even in the unlikely event of women being proved to be less intelligent, there was no call for male rights to be confined to those who were geniuses. Moreover, apart from these basic physical inequalities, all other differences between the sexes were the result of education, of which more in a moment. In terms of justice, either everyone had the same rights as human beings, or we all have none. Either no human being has any true rights, or we all do. Indeed, anyone who denied the rights of another on the basis of religion, color, or sex automatically renounced and forfeited his own. If the government applied the principles of reason and justice consistently, then there were no grounds for denying equal rights to women. If all men are equal by dint of being capable of reason and moral ideas, then women have the same rights of citizenship as men. The principle of justice requires that women no longer be debarred from the right of citizenship. Moreover, if we state that citizenship allows people to act of their own free will, then any law that supposed women to be incapable of free will would increase injustice. Thus, Condorcet argued that without the inclusion of women, the political nation would not have a free constitution. Of course, there were cases in which specific exclusions from the rights of citizenship, such as the right to vote and serve as public functionaries, could be made, but their only justification could be on grounds of utility. For example, it could be justified to exclude those convicted of certain crimes, or those under the age of majority. But such restrictions could not validly be applied to women. As it stood at present, women were treated like a subject population. Unless there were equal rights for women, then the new French nation was guilty of tyranny. Condorcet also pointed to historical evidence. Equality, or at least certain kinds of equality, for women was not a new idea. Even the Roman Emperor Julian had granted women the right to initiate divorce proceedings, for example. Again, there were ready examples of powerful women rulers in other countries, such as Elizabeth I of England, Marie-Thérèse of Austria, Catherine the Great of Russia, all of whom had strength of mind and the courage of their convictions. In France itself, there were such literary giants as the 17th century writers, the Marquise de Savigny and Madame de Lafayette. There were also many historical examples of male leaders who had undermined the freedom of conscience and the rights of citizens, or passed absurd and barbarous laws. There was no reason for male pride. I will continue this commentary in part 2 of the video.